You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, where we share topics that will inspire business growth and help you stay ahead of advances in technology before they become mainstream. This episode is sponsored by Ingram Micro Xvantage, the game-changing platform that will transform your business potential and reshape how customers see you. Today on B2B Tech Talk, we're joined by Hans Mize, CEO of Data41. Hans, welcome to the show.
Great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. It's good to be here in Southern California.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to talk, before we go in deep, I want to talk about Data41. And if you could share with the audience what it is that Data41 does, and then we'll talk a little bit about Ingram Micro too.
Okay. Yeah, I started the company back in 2006. Me, one employee, basically out of my house, and never even expected to be on this journey that I'm on now. And it's a lot of high highs and some lows along the way. But started the company basically doing what's now known as business analytics. Mm-hmm. And our primary client is the Office of Finance back then, since expanded, and we help them with the financial planning and analysis process. So think in the corporate world, budgeting, planning, and forecasting. Right. From there, through some market consolidation, we went from financial planning analysis, FP&A, into what is now called enterprise performance management.
Okay.
And from there, basically that encapsulates, it falls under the umbrella of business analytics. So if you want to kind of, think of us, we're a business analytics company, mm-hmm. and we have a focus on line of business. So finance, operations, sales, marketing, even IT to a certain extent. And with the advent of AI and all the hype and excitement, and I think some of the thinking robots are going to take over our jobs in our world, it's a really, really good transition for us as well. So my entire team is looking and a part of this entire AI progression that's taking place today. It's exciting for us because it helps elevate what we do into a different realm, but at the same time, it creates a lot of longevity for the company as well.
That's fantastic. I want to touch a minute on AI because there's so much fear, mm-hmm. uncertainty, and doubt about AI. First, for other partners that are listening, what advice would you give them about engaging with AI today?
Embrace it.
Okay.
The hardest part about AI or any other technology is cloud. Back whenever we're moving everything in the cloud. Y2K, if you remember that far back, it's like, oh my gosh, all the systems they're going to stop working, January 1st, 2000. With technology, and I think Sanjeev says it best, right? We need to embrace the change. We need to make it part of what we do because it's going to make us all better. And it's coming, it's here, it's going to continue to progress. Change is the hardest aspect of everything, of anybody's life, especially in business. But the more we embrace it, the better we're going to make the technology work for us to make society better.
Well said. What about the opportunities with AI? I know that, you're working in this realm, but there's a lot, again, the fear, I think, especially, I'm reminded of the cloud. The cloud's going to take away all these jobs. And I'm hearing that again with AI. But then I'm seeing, as you and I have spoken before, that the opportunities are actually creating more time mm-hmm. to do the real work that these companies are doing. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. And right now, AI is really in its infancy. Mm-hmm. So we're really limited by our imagination. We're also limited by computing power. So basically right now, in terms of where we're going with AI, you got to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of very manual, mundane processes that are very repetitive. Mm-hmm. And these are, more, folks that sit and look at spreadsheets all day, gather data all day, or go through some other type of data analysis. So the gathering of that data, the categorization of that data, is going to be automated to a point where, yes, everyone's job is going to change, but it's going to allow them to focus on the value add aspect of their job and less so on the manual process part of their job. I've got a great story to tell as well, and one that I've shared a little bit. Can't really name the client, but we've got a nonprofit that we've worked with, mm-hmm. Here local in Southern California, and they have kids that they take care of with case files. The case managers and social workers, they have to look at hundreds of documents in order to provide care for these kids.
Oh my!
And those hundreds of documents just to analyze for one child could take 2 to 3 hours in a week. AI is basically what we're talking about is to basically take that process, automate it to allow them to look at a summary of the report of all that documentation so they can focus their time on the child. And if you talk to the caseworkers, right, they went to school to be able to help people. And their heart is in the job, their passion is in the job. And when they know that they can spend the proper amount of time with those children, it is exactly the reason they actually got into that line of business. They didn't get in the line of business in order to review documents 2 to 3 hours a day per child. They got in to really provide care. AI is going to help them do that job better. So that's one aspect of change that this technology is going to be able to enhance what we do for again society in general.
That is incredible. So they have so much more time to give back to the children. And by the way, what a great story. And I think about the kids too, and how they're going to benefit from all of this extra time. What is the technology behind this?
It's pretty vast. It's all it's being developed by just a small number of companies right now. Very well-known companies. They've got the resources, they got the manpower, they got the money to do it. But with time, you're going to have the startups, you're going to have the new ideas, you're going to have the democratization of AI and what we can do with it. So small companies like us, for instance, will be able to come in, and we're not going to go out there and change the underlying foundation of the large language models. But what we will do is we'll take what's out there and we'll know how to apply it in very, very specific cases, very similar to what I just shared with you, that story, and other areas of business. As the technology continues to evolve, it also is going to get smarter, which is going to push us to get smarter to apply in other areas as well. So again, very acutely, everyone's job is going to change. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be eliminated. The ones that will be eliminated is just going to push people to be better at other things.
Yeah, you bet. Or the folks that are resisting, right? Or their failure to engage, right? And jump in and figure out how you can utilize this. It's here. No reason to run away. Embrace it. That's fantastic. And I do love this story. And I think it sounds like it's something that could be replicated across other schools. It sounds like this is specialty school, but I would imagine other schools where there's a lot of documenting. I have a sister who's a teacher, so she does a lot of documenting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we're going to go and talk about your relationship with Ingram Micro and TrustX. And that's been a very powerful journey for you when you started and you joined, and we talked a little bit about that. But then things kind of really turned and you got really engaged when you decided, I'm all in. I'm in this. Then what happened?
Yeah, and even that, I probably, in order to tell the story properly with some context, kind of start from the beginning. Through market consolidation, we primarily focus on IBM solutions. And whenever IBM acquired the other company, we became part of that IBM ecosystem, and we had to choose a VAD. So I chose Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro is right here in my backyard, right in California. And I knew that we'd probably have a close relationship because of proximity. And then everybody that I had to work with was out of Buffalo, New York. And like, wonderful. So I've got this great company in my backyard, and the folks that I'm interacting with are in Buffalo. So I made the trek out of there a few times. And then the funny thing is, I've been to Buffalo, that office, more than I've been to the Irvine office.
Oh, that's funny.
And we're only just 4 miles away. But Ingram's culture is very much like the culture of my company. It's a large company with a very small culture. You feel like family. You feel like you've known the folks and have worked with folks for a while. And the best part about that is that there's also been a lot of continuity. So the folks that we started working with back in 2009 are still part of the team. Amazing. And that's, and from there you become more than just business associates, right? There's friendships that come out of that, right? And there's experiences come out of that. There's times we get together just because we want to get together and not talk about business, talk about family, talk about other things that are happening. And so that's where it all kind of started. So in 2009, we're trying to find our footing within the ecosystem of Ingram. And, slowly you kind of build upon it, build a reputation, and then you start expanding your network within Ingram under the IBM brand. And then in 2015, I was, through our sales rep, was introduced to the VTN network.
Right.
Show up as, just come check us out. And, it's a great organization of, like-minded people that are trying to grow their companies, in more ways than just revenue. And you'll be a trial member, come out. So I went to the RE in Vegas, didn't know a single person. I met Bill Peterson for the very first time. Had to go in and get signed up. Here's where you got to go. And we have a chapter meeting when we had the chapters back then. Show up at the chapter meeting. I'm supposed to have two basically chaperones. Met one of them, never met the other guy. And he goes, "Hi, my name's Joe. Let me know if you need anything." And turned around and walked away, and I never talked to him again. And I'm like, wonderful. But the reason I bring this up is that, you look at the journey and you hear the moniker, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. It's like anything good in life, the more effort you have to apply to it, the better the outcome's going to be on the back end. And so in 2015, I go through and I believe it was the TrustX Invitational or the VTN Invitational. So at that time, I decided to go ahead and sign up. And it took a while to get to know the chapter, right? We only met, once a quarter. It took a while to get to know what VTN, which got rebranded a year later to TrustX was. It took a while to get to know each individual, like, wow, everybody's an MSP except for us. And trying to figure out what the network was, were folks that were really engaged and others just kind of, at the time, kind of showed up. And slowly from that experience, kind of figured out, these people have the same problems, so we have same challenges, trying to do the same things. They're regionally based, and I have access to them, at least once a quarter, if not more. And then I got introduced to masterminds, which is basically my virtual board of directors, been in the same masterminds group since January 2016. And that was a game changer, and I talk all day about that as well. But the essence of it is that you're in a community of people that are trying to do business the right way, number one. They're good people, number two. Actually, let me reverse those. Good people trying to do business the right way. And you have an opportunity to share experiences. You have an opportunity to share ideas. You have an opportunity to share challenges. And you've got a backdrop of all this knowledge everywhere from somebody who just started their company to somebody who's been in business for decades. And that's at my disposal every single day of the week. And then you look at, okay, great, I've got this community. How do I make it better? And, very fortunate that when a council spot opened up, they reached out and said, we think you'd be a good advocate for the council. Why don't you consider it? So I had to consider it and came on board of January 2020. It's my first council meeting here in Newport Beach. And then COVID hit.
I was going to say, and then what happened?
Yeah, exactly. So COVID hits, and all of the in-person meetings, the planning meetings, basically got put off to the side, and we had to do this virtually. Well, I wasn't part of the council before. I didn't know what to do, but again, you've got a lot of constituents said, okay, this is how we meet. This is what we do. This is what we're trying to do. And at the time, it was really just trying to figure out how do we navigate these unknowns called COVID, and we don't know how long it's going to last. We know that this community, we got to find a way to keep people together. And the important thing is that it brought everyone together, even though we couldn't be together. And Ingram did a fantastic job of that. And it was more than just having the meetings and just trying to have something fun. There was a purpose behind it. So we wanted to keep everyone engaged because everyone was going through a different type of hardship then. Business-wise, business was actually pretty good during
that year. Business was really good,
right, for everyone. But at the same time, it was the personal side, the mental, the emotional stress that COVID was.
Families, and everybody had families, and we're dealing with a whole other set of issues, right? And navigating all of that at the same time. Oh, I can't imagine being a business owner during that time.
Yeah, it was tough, and you try to engage as best as you can through an online medium. Yeah. But it's not the same thing as this. Yeah. And once the dam broke open and we had a chance to get back to in-person events, and I know my daughter's actually is our marketing lead at the company, and TrustX is so important to me that I got her involved. And this took place, I believe, in May 2021. Is that right? We were all down in Phoenix for the TrustX Invitational, and we went down there. And I think for the most part, the council and everybody organizing that invitational knew that it was going to be more of a party than a conference, because the first time we had a chance in a couple of years to get everyone together. And that's exactly, and they just let us do our thing, and it was just wonderful, right? It's just, catching up, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but you know everyone's name because you see them on a repetitive basis, but every now and then it's like, wow, something happened, I got replaced by someone else, you're looking at the name tags.
Right.
And just because you're out of practice, not because you don't know the person. And so, there's a little bit of that, but at the same time, it's just a wonderful experience.
Ah, that's great. Well, I had the good fortune of meeting Kristen at GCIS, And I asked her when I met her, what did she like about the event? And she said, you know, it is so awesome to be around all of these people who just gladly share what they know with you. And she was just, she goes, it just feels so good. It feels so great to be around everyone. And so she had, I mean, isn't it great that you could share that same
Absolutely.
great experience with your daughter? And she's lovely, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So you go on, you're on the council, and congratulations, because now you're the president of the TrustX Alliance Council. What does that mean to you?
It took a while for me to really understand the magnitude of what was being asked. And it's not, because there's any additional work. If you look at the history of VTN and you look at the history of TrustX and you look at how close this community is and what it means for different individuals, and there are folks that, started with VTN back in the day when it first started out. They're still part of TrustX. There are folks that have been in VTN/TrustX longer than I have, and they're still part of it. There are folks in my masterminds group that are old timers compared to me, and I've been in it this is my 8th year now. And if you really think about and absorb the perspective of all the knowledge, of all of the objectives that these companies have, of everything they're trying to get out of the community, of all the emotional capital they have in the community to want to see it continue forward and get better. It's a big ask. And I don't like to do things halfway. If I'm engaged, I'm fully engaged. So I had to think a bit about it. Again, not necessarily because of the time commitment, but am I the right person, and can I help propel this ahead? And fortunately, Marcus Sayan is the U.S. president that is moving out of the position. He committed to staying on an extra year to help me out with the transition. And then you've got all the other council members and all the other country presidents as well that are there. They're very encouraging. I got emails when it was announced, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize these folks felt that way. But I wanted to make sure, number one, I was a great advocate. I was a great ambassador for it. And it's almost as if you're a curator at a museum. You have all of these wonderful historical artifacts, and you get a period of time where you're the caretaker for all of that. And I feel like I'm a caretaker for TrustX for a period of time, for the betterment of it, getting the engagement to a point where it's just at a fever pitch where folks just want to be a part and will exude that confidence and enthusiasm. So it was a blessing as well, because it gives me purpose in the community more so than I have now, which is kind of hard to do. And at the same time, it was a boost to my own confidence. And yes, I get imposter syndrome on occasion as well, that there are enough people that believed in me and say, Hans, we think you would be a good advocate for the community, and we'd like for you to accept this role if you're willing to.
So this is a new role for you.
Yes.
And what do you see? Because everybody comes into a role as a leader in an organization, and they feel really strong about something that they want to see. They'd like to affect change. What is that for you?
So part of it is going back to and embracing some parts of what TrustX used to be. And we're doing a little bit of that now with time zone dinners. So whenever I have a chance to get together with the folks out here locally, and when I say locally, the old PacWest chapter, and I was one of the officers of PacWest as well. When I have a get back and reconnect with some of the old PacWest folks, they're like, it'd be great if we could go back to the chapter model. And I keep telling us as well, we're not going to go back to the chapter model, but there might be ways where we can bring the old chapter folks back together. And I've been a big advocate of that since before I got on the council. And as part of the council, relationships happen at a local level. And I tell this story all the time as well. Marcus Sayan was part of the TrustX PacWest chapter. He's an MSP. He's actually our MSP now because of TrustX. And he's got a completely different business model than us. In the current structure of TrustX, I would have never met Mark. And he's only right down the road. He's probably less than 10 miles from my office.
Interesting.
Right? So because it doesn't really push the local relationships.
Right.
So, what I've been advocating for is that we find a way to bring that back because we do, they're just a short drive away. I have lunch with him, once a quarter at a minimum. And it's a chance to get together and share, this knowledge and this passion that we have for the organization and the community. But at the same time, that's where the relationship with their sales reps. Typically, they're out here. Relationship with their clients within a certain proximity. Relationships with other business owners, certain proximity. Then we use the overall organization, the community, when we have the invitationals, when we have the subject matter groups, when we have the affinity groups. Then we can get additional collaboration over a larger geography.
Well, it makes total sense. I mean, just to bring everybody back together. And my goodness, that's right. You wouldn't have met Mark had there not been a local chapter. That's incredible. So what would you say there's a lot of partners out in our audience that are not members of any community. Matter of fact, I met one. I didn't think there was any, but no, there are many out there that have not yet engaged for whatever reason. Maybe they don't know enough about it. I think one of the misnomers is, oh my gosh, I would be in a room full of competitors. What would you tell a partner that wasn't part of a community, whether it's TrustX or SMB, about engaging in one and what the value is?
So I joined for three primary reasons. Number one, I wanted to grow my company. And when I say growth, immediately you think revenue growth. Yes, that's part of it, but there's also a growth in terms of being able to elevate people within your company and being able to put in best practices, things of that nature. So that's number one, grow my company. Number two is I wanted to grow my network, right? So locally, there's only so many people I want to be able to meet, so it expanded the audience to a national audience, now an international audience. So I really cool. You got folks over in the UK and Germany, the DACH region, and then we're moving to other markets around the world. So it really increases your visibility and your network globally now. And the third thing I wanted to do is I wanted to grow myself. And masterminds, the interaction, the knowledge sharing is an opportunity to do that. So if you're running a business and you're running a business responsibly, right, you have to change with the times. You have to grow, because if you're not growing, you're actually stagnating. And stagnation is not good for anybody. And my message to anyone that's thinking about joining some type of community, for me, those three things were true whenever I entered the community, and they're true now because it's a constant that continues with time. You don't hit a destination, right? You're constantly in motion. And so my network has grown tremendously. My company's benefited tremendously because I've got Kristen in marketing. Now I have Taylor in operations as part of TrustX.
Okay.
And, they're both being elevated, next generation coming up in the company. And then personally, I don't know if my company would be where it is today. I don't know if it would even exist through some of the hardship and challenges we faced without my masterminds group.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Wow. Hans Mize, congratulations. So I'm so happy for you, all your success. And I hope you can come back when the story unfolds a little bit more and you can share with us what the outcome is of your AI success story. We thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. This has been wonderful.
You bet. You bet. Thank you.
Impactful global engagements, iconic entertainment experiences, and memorable networking opportunities. Be part of it all at Ingram Micro One 2024. You've been listening to Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode and you want to continue the conversation online, use hashtag B2B Tech Talk.